Good afternoon. Are we still energetic? I know you've been here since morning, and normally after hours we get too tired. Everything becomes boring, but I hope that whatever we are going to share with you this afternoon about Botswana would stimulate your thinking a bit about the opportunities that Africa has to offer, to give you a different scope and view, so that when you go back to your academic work, you have something exciting to tell about Africa's value proposition in terms of thinking about visiting or living there or creating business opportunities in future. So this afternoon, I'm all yours. I'm going to play some few videos just to give you an insights about Botswana, and then it will be followed by a short presentation. Okay? Listen carefully.
Come. Come even closer. Listen. Do you hear it? It is not enough to simply extend your ear. You have to open your heart as well. For those of you who have walked on her land and stained your fingertips with her soil, the sound is already in your ears. A rich melody etched into your heart. It is the sound of my country. It is the sound of Botswana. Yes, it is the cry of the fish eagle, majestic and clear, and the roar of the lion, unequaled in regal splendor. But it is also the sound of silence across the Kalahari, where even the sound of time seems to be lost in the wind. It is the trumpet of the elephants by day and the howl of the hyenas by night. But oh, it is so much more than this. It is the sound of her beloved people, the music that resonates from thousands of lives, all so diverse, of people, but with a common melody that sings a song of hope and new beginnings. You want to know my country? We are a rare nation whose beauty beneath the soil can match its beauty above. We have learned how to harness possibility and transform it into prosperity, to build with hope, dream with expectant possibility. Our beautiful country is rich with nature's finest resources, and we sustainably mine the opportunities above and beneath the earth. Though we stand proud, arm in arm with our African brothers and sisters, we also stand out as significant players in the global arenas of business, travel, and lifestyle. Come to our cities and see for yourself. Our modern services and infrastructure boast of our efforts to deliver on every promise made for our future, to reach beyond circumstance and lay the bricks to our bright future. Gaborone's emerging skyline is built upon the foundation of true democracy, of men who put freedom before personal gain, a storehouse of potential, a scroll of unfolding history, glorious in strength. This is Botswana at its best. But there are other spectacular views, and these no man can create. Stand under the night sky of Savuti and allow the stars to envelop you. Or drink in the rich beauty of the African sun setting over the Chobe River, while nature delivers its finest show. Admire the Okavango with its splendid web of waterways. It is undeniable. Botswana, my country, she is beautiful beyond compare. Botswana, our pride, your destination.
Should I conclude my presentation? Yeah, I can hear mamas down there saying that's amazing. Truly it is. And that's Botswana for you. I'm going to share a bit of a presentation, and I'm going to be a bit different from the speeches that we had this morning. I think from Lesotho you heard about the history of the Southern African region, what they aspire to do, and what they want to achieve. And we also heard from our other African brothers just some moments ago, talking about the efforts that are being made in the African continent to really try and improve on the social aspects and as well as development. So from the perspective of Botswana, as you can see, we offer a very unique value proposition. As you will see as I go through the presentation that I will share with you, I will share a bit about our country attributes, then of course share some bit about the opportunities that Botswana has to offer. I wouldn't go much into projects because they are not of significance to you. And then I will conclude by sharing about the services that my institution that I'm representing here has to offer in order to welcome you to Botswana. So at a glance, this is where we are located in Africa. We are right at the bottom. We are bordering South Africa, which is the biggest economy down there, and this is the smaller country of Lesotho that you saw in the morning. And then to the east and north, we are bordering with Zimbabwe and then Zambia. To the west, we've got Namibia. So this is where we are located within Southern Africa. And you have to fly all the way to Europe to go to the bottom part of the world. Let's look at some few economic indicators about Botswana that might be of interest. Our population is slightly above 2 million people with a land mass of 582,000 square meters. In comparison, we are the size of France. If you know how big France is, we've got 2 million people living in France. Okay. Our GDP is slightly US 15 billion as of 2016. And then when you look at the GDP per capita for Botswana, is roughly around 7,000 US dollars per person. If you divide the population by the GDP, you get the GDP per capita, right? That's how wealthy we are. And then when you look at inflation, as of December 2017, inflation in Botswana was only 2.8%. You can compare to other European countries, inflation rates or ranges, thereabouts. And then the interest rates, the bank rate in Botswana is 5%, while the prime rate is 6.5. I hope it makes sense what I'm talking about in terms of the economic indicators that I'm just sharing. We say Botswana is a place that everybody can live. I think you have seen from the video that we've just shared. We live in a modern country where we've got modern cities. the population speak fluent English, and we are very much open to visitors who want to come and see our beautiful countries. We offer good quality of life. Botswana is a place where you can raise your kids. You can enjoy excellent work atmosphere. And then, like I said, we are welcoming and very, very friendly. What you see before you is what you'll get in Botswana. We are ever smiling people. It's a place to visit. We've got unique and diverse tourism offer. Currently, if I may want to share some of the short snippets about the tourism, Botswana has got the largest population elephants in Africa. Our population elephants currently stand at around 130,000. That's elephants alone. And it's because of our protectionist nature, because we are very, very conservative. I've had questions in the morning about, you know, how do you protect the environment? These are something that some of the African countries need to learn from how we do it in Botswana. And then what you see here is part of the Okavango Delta. In June 2014, this Okavango Delta was the 1,000th site to be given the World Heritage by UNESCO. This is in terms of conservation efforts that Botswana has to offer. But we normally say, why Botswana? What is it that Botswana can offer? What is Botswana's value proposition? Why do we believe we are different from other countries? Of course, you should, at the back of your mind, know that all countries are competing for investors. We are living in a globally competitive environment where everybody has to strive to do better than others. And that is what we want to share with you, so that you appreciate that not all African countries are the same. And we want to remove that sort of perception from everybody, so that, like I said, you get to appreciate. We've got location advantage within Southern Africa. We are at the center of Southern Africa. When you fly from Europe to Johannesburg, it's roughly 10 hours, 11 hours. And then from Johannesburg, you go to Gaborone, the capital city of Botswana, it's 45 minutes. 45 minutes. When you drive, it's 3.5 hours. So in terms of proximity, our capital city is very, very close to the economic hub of South Africa. So within a radius of 500 kilometers, when you come to Botswana, you are already exposed to a market of 500 million people, when you are just within a radius of 500 kilometers. And then when you go further, a radius of 1,000 kilometers, you are further exposed to 65 million people. That is the advantage of why you need to consider Botswana when you want to do business in southern part of Africa. We are very, very stable. We've got a strong currency. It's called the Pula. In terms of exchange rates, I think 1 Pula is equivalent to roughly 10 euro. I mean, 1 euro is equivalent roughly to 10 pula. Sorry, it's vice versa. The pula could be very, very strong, but we have pegged it to a basket of currencies. We don't leave it to float. We use what we normally call a crawling peg. So we link it to the South African rand, so that because South Africa is the major exporter of goods and services into Botswana. And then we also link it to special drawing rights, and then the US dollars, amongst others. So as you have seen from the video, we've got relatively sound infrastructure to support multinational business operations that want to set up in Botswana. If you look at year-on-year interest rates over time, as I've said, this is inflation. It has fallen over time. The Bank of Botswana use an inflation target of 3 to 6%. Currently, the inflation is below the inflation target range. So we have a very good sound monetary system that supports the business environment. You would see that the prime rate also have been falling over time, and the bank rate as well, as I've indicated earlier on. When you look at the real GDP growth, you will notice that we have a positive outlook. Even when you look at the forecast, the economy is poised to grow roughly above 5% until 2021. This is how international agencies rate Botswana. I have used the Global Competitiveness Reports over time, from 2012 up to the recent Global Competitiveness Report, which was released last year. You find that overall we have improved in terms of our global rankings in competitiveness from 79 out of 144 countries, and then we are currently standing at 63. That is globally in terms of competitiveness indices. But one would want to look further and say, but where is Botswana strong from these rankings? If you look at the macroeconomic environment, globally, we ranked number 13. It basically means we compare with highly developed countries. Our markets, or labor market efficiency, we have been very, very good. Institutions, they've really performed very well. And then financial market development. These are some of the pillars that you would want to look into when you look at Botswana's strengths in terms of competitiveness. In terms of the operational risk environment, I use comparator analysis, selected a few countries within Africa. Mauritius, we know that it has been performing relatively well. But also note that Mauritius is not in the mainland. Mauritius is just an island on its own. So the characteristics of Mauritius may be different from, what Botswana is exposed to as a land-linked country. So Botswana's operational risk is slightly above the global market average, and then way, way above the emerging market average. The tax competitiveness, when you look at Botswana, here, this is the general tax for anybody that wants to do business, which is 22%. But if you want to venture into manufacturing and other activities like financial and business services, we would offer you 15%. Look at South Africa, it's 28%. The African average is 27.5. But Botswana is 15%. It's only Botswana and Mauritius who has got that low tax in the region. In terms of sovereign credit ratings, you know that credit rating agencies like Standard and Poor and Moody, they normally rate countries according to, you know, how good their credit could be. Botswana has consistently been given a 2 rating by Moody's for both foreign and domestic bonds. And then recently we were given a stable outlook by Moody. And then S&P, which is Standard and Poor, has also given us A-, A-2 for long and short-term bonds, respectively. But basically, the ratings depends on the strengths of the country and the economy, as you can see down there. And I wouldn't want to share what South Africa was given in the last credit ratings. They were almost given a junk status. Botswana, I'm proud to say Botswana is the least corrupt country in Africa. Look at the corruption map of the world. This is the corruption map of the world. The darker the red, the more the corrupt. As you can see from the index, this is by Transparency International. You see the lighter ones yourselves somewhere there. Some of you are lighter, some of you are red. But in Africa, look at Africa. And this is Botswana. He's the only guy who's light in complexion there. And consistently, is not by miracle. My colleagues would add at a later stage. It's not by miracle, and then it's not by design. We work for this position as a country. Global Peace Index today, you heard the minister talking about peace, talking about very few countries that have never been to war. Botswana, we really don't know what war is. Today, in this turmoil global environment, Botswana is one of the very few countries that are truly at peace with themselves. One of the few countries. So you can see where we rank. And then some are on the ease of doing business. We are ranked number 5 in Africa, but we are going to change that because we want to become number 1 in terms of ease of doing business in Africa, and we are going to achieve that. I want to share with you, having shared some bit of the macroeconomic environment and how other people see us, now delve into some of the areas that some of you may look into when they want to expand their business operations in Africa by setting up in that stable market, of course. So these are some of our key opportunities. We promote commercial and agro-processing. When you look into the map of Botswana, this is the map of Botswana. We've designated different areas where we can undertake agriculture commercial activity. And then we also want people to engage on value addition within the agriculture sector. We don't want people who just do farming and then nothing is done. So we are promoting more of agro-processing. So these are some of the opportunities. I'm not going to go over, but it's more like you can do aquaculture, you can do arable investment, dairy production. Currently we are importing 48 million liters of milk, primarily from South Africa, while we are only producing roughly around 3 million liters. So we want to reverse and do our own production domestically. And if you look, we have actually researched on the value of the opportunity where people can venture into such. The opportunity is valued at 1.8 billion pula. I think if you exchange to US dollars, you divide roughly by 10 just to see the size of the opportunity there. Financial and business services are some of the areas that we are looking to grow. Botswana has got a robust framework in terms of promoting the financial and business services. We have the International Financial Services Framework, which I'm also happy to share with you that we recently defended at the OECD, because some of you will, those who are interested in the financial services sector or tax, you know that the OECD always regulate and appreciate the environments, whether we are tax havens or not. So Botswana is not a tax haven. We have demonstrated to the OECD recently. So you can come and play, invest in investment funds to support ongoing projects within the region, international insurance, non-financial companies. You can come and set up a bank, like a commercial bank and everything. So if you look into the financial system actually in Botswana, you find that the non-bank financial services side is really performing relatively well, more especially around pension funds and other sectors. We want to position Botswana as a place where you can come and do automotive components parts. We have engaged the original equipment manufacturers in South Africa, like your Mercedes-Benz, your Toyotas, your Nissans. You know, South Africa is very big in the automotive industry, just like here in Germany and Eastern Europe, whereby they tentatively said, yes, there's a market. We are looking for people who can supply us with components. So we are positioning ourselves to supply these guys in South Africa from a studio market like this one. And then cargo and logistics, for example, because of our central positioning, people can come and invest in tracking and management, distribution and warehousing, airlines and couriers. At the moment, in terms of infrastructure provisions, we have around 4 airports of international standards that the government of Botswana has recently completed. We've got ICT opportunities. You see that the whole of Botswana, we've placed fiber network laid just across the whole of Botswana. And this you can see unfortunately in some of our African brothers in other African countries. Now some of the projects are on the last mile access for broadband wireless. As you can see, these are the new projects where we are currently working on. 34 towns and villages have already been covered. Then we are working on additional 23. The broadband is expected to deliver at least up to 10 Mbps symmetric data in terms of connectivity. In terms of energy, we are also working to connect the rest of the country, where there are ongoing projects. Actually, some have started to put in major grid lines across the country. And then this morning, some of you were asking about clean energy. I know there was a question that was posed to Lesotho. And similarly, Botswana has one of the largest exposure to radiation. In 365 days, I think Botswana is exposed to the sun for more than 300 days in a year. So when you want to venture into solar park, this is the place to go. However, we are still working on the policy, because we want to encourage private investors to come in this sector. Unfortunately, in as much as we are exposed to the sun, we cannot run away from the fact that Botswana also have large resources of coal, 212 billion tons of coal resources that we are sitting on as a country. But we are aware of the issues that affect global warming. We are not a big player in terms of contributing to that. We have taken a deliberate stance to say, what can we do? We believe that instead of working on coal powered stations, we would want to transform our coal into liquid. There are projects that the government are looking to put in place to have coal to liquid, where we can produce our own, gasoline, so CTM. Some of you, I think they understand. Now you saw in the video that Botswana is the biggest producer of diamonds, gem diamonds by value in the world. Diamonds for jewelry, those are gem diamonds. We are the biggest producer by value. What we have managed to do as a country is we managed to relocate the Diamond Trading Center from the UK to Botswana. Basically, it means all the diamonds that follows the kimberlite process are sent to Botswana now instead of London for aggregation from the region. So diamond tiers, or guys that buy diamonds, they fly to Botswana at the moment to go and buy rough stones. So we don't want these guys to get the stones and go away. So we want to do what we call beneficiation, where people can venture into, rough trading, polished trading, jewelry manufacturing. Those are huge opportunities, where even in Gaborone we've got what we call a diamond park, where we are more than ready to host sophisticated businesses that can add value. We want to see jewelry that is associated with Botswana or any neighboring countries whatsoever. So this is where we are currently working on. But you may see that there are other opportunities around insurance. This is a specialized sector that requires its own financing. Some of the diamond tiers may require specialized you know, chefs to support them as they go for investment in Botswana. So look into this and know that Botswana is the biggest producer of gem diamonds by value in the world. Botswana is one of the best beef producers in the world. All in my presentation, you would hear number one, best. So we are the best producer of beef, organic beef for that matter. We currently export our beef to the EU, notably to Norway, which is our biggest number one market because they like pricey meat, and then we sell to UK. But what we have noticed is that there's no much value addition like when you go to Argentina, for instance, you get a guy on the street who just measure you and do you a leather jacket. We don't have such in Botswana. So we have devised strategies where we want to develop a park with its downstream opportunities where we can, you know, work on the leather from the tannery all the way to getting a jacket. So these are some of the opportunities that we have. So in terms of tourism, I'm not going to say much. You have seen the video. We have a massive tourism offer. Currently, the tourism industry for Botswana is of high-end, low volume. That is, we target those guys with more money, not saying that we don't want anybody to come. As long as you have got money to spend, you are welcome. Largely, why are we doing this? Our ecosystem is very fragile. It's one of the management controls. We don't want to overpopulate our tourism destinations. Two, we really want our wild to remain wild. Okay? So save more and come to Botswana. But you can still enjoy other experiences. We've got other events that are emerging. We've got a 1,000 kilometer desert race, which is part of the Toyota, what do you call this? The main race. Yes, the Dakar. It's part of the Dakar. It's a 1,000, it's a big race in Botswana. The cars, they race through the desert. And then we've got an air show. We also have what we call Makadikadi Epic, where guys, they go into a flat, salty terrain. It's a flat piece of land. People go there for some few days. They do skydiving. And then in the desert also we have what we call the Kawajun Challenge, where the guys with the quad bikes and we go out to play. Botswana, we want to go out to play. That's how we are. So tourism offer is quite enormous. We will share with you as you inquire more. I'm going to skip some of this. We are building one of the biggest bridges that would link Botswana with the rest of the region in the Chobe or the Zambezi River. Zambezi River is one of the biggest rivers in our part of the world. So the government of Botswana and of Zambia are currently, unfortunately, Zimbabwe is not part of the project, but they will still benefit, don't worry. In terms of how we support, Botswana is party to many agreements. Market access, you heard from Lesotho that there's what we call a Southern African Customs Union. This is the oldest customs union in the world. It was established in 1910, way before the EU or the EEC Commission. It has survived withstood the test of time. Those are some of the countries. So when we export into our region, we have the same tariff. South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Swaziland, we've got the same external tariff. So whatever will be charged in Lesotho or South Africa is what will be charged in Botswana. That is what it means. But once the goods have arrived into the customs union, they just move freely. And then over and above, we've got the Southern African Development Community, whose headquarters are housed in Botswana. So decisions for this organization are made in Botswana. We've got access to the US market through African Growth and Opportunity Act. This is not a negotiated agreement. It's a unilateral offer by the US to say we want to assist African countries to export duty-free, quota-free into the US. It gives access to more than 6,500 product lines that you can export duty-free. It's almost everything that you can produce, as long as you meet the rules of origin criterion. And then, of course, economic partnership agreements with the EU, where we are currently exporting our beef. I know for Germany, we are currently exporting few items like semi-precious stones. And then we used to export our pharmaceutical or traditional medicinal plants. There's a plant that is called Devil's Claw or Kalahari Devil's Claw that we used to export into Germany. I know currently Namibia are doing that. And then, of course, we have other agreements with other nations like the European Free Trade Association, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Norway on the other hand. So this is the market access that you can get when you are basing your business from Botswana. However, having said that we have 15% tax, we've got other special regions where we want to grow our regions economically. We've got a region that is called Spedu. It only has a population of 203,000. Some of the incentives that we have put on hold will give you 5% tax for the first 5 years when you invest here, then 10% after. And then also government will give you a direct offtake of 30% of whatever you do. You sure have a market. In terms of land, minimum land lease is 50 years. You are sure that for 50 years you'll operate without any hindrance. And then the labor laws, of course. I'm required to finish. We run a show that is called Global Expo, just like your ITB or your Anuga Food Tech. It's an annual show. Last year we invited Sir Richard Branson to Botswana because he likes Botswana so much. He was our guest speaker. We occasionally have a lot of attendance from Europe, different European countries. For those that are interested, we will share the details. If you want to know more about what my institution does, which is Botswana Investment and Trade Center, when you come into Botswana, we are the first investment promotion agency. We will handhold you. You don't have to pay anything. Don't ever pay anything to any government officer in Botswana. Remember, we are the least corrupt country in Africa, right? Yes. You don't pay anything. That is a promise. We will work with you in terms of investor facilitation, where you want to set up your business, business registration, You want to acquire work and residence permits, incentives. We've got access to the office of the president and everybody, and we advocate on behalf of the businesses. We also assist those that set up in Botswana to acquire the African market, because we know the African market better than anybody else. So you become our partner in development. You benefit, we benefit. By way of this, you'll see some of the professional advisory firms that you can work with in Botswana. And for details, these are my details. I'm based in the I almost said US, in the UK, London. I always come to Germany, of course, and other parts of Europe. So I will be in touch.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mokgosi. And the audience, if you have some question, you can raise it now, because next we have a speaker from Madagascar. Please.
How you doing, Yvonne? From New York again. What kind of I guess safeguards has Botswana put in place with regards to its economy to kind of protect against the sort of economic contraction that you guys dealt with between 2009 and 2013 because of the heavy dependency on the diamond, your diamond market? Well, that's my first question.
All right, thank you so much. What Botswana has done, I think what you would be aware is that we were not spared the wrath of economic meltdown, largely because our economy depends on on diamonds. We've had slump in commodity prices, amongst others, which basically contracts the country's GDP. One, you'd notice that from our prudent management of our resources, we've managed to save. That is number one. Currently, if the economy of Botswana was to stop operating altogether, we will go for 19 months operating as if normal. It's unheard of, even in some of the larger economies. So what we have also done is that the government came up with a stimulus package during the contraction phase to stimulate economic growth within the economy, whereby they identified major infrastructural projects that could be funded through some of the coffers from some of our savings, only a bit. We are not a big borrower of funds. How we managed to work out also is that everything starts from our policy developments, because it's very, very clear. We want to diversify away from diamonds to other areas of the economy. And it's embedded in every operational plan for people to appreciate that we really want to move away. And two, Botswana is one of the countries that invested heavily in education. From diamonds, I personally went to school for free. If it was not because of the government of Botswana, possibly my parents could have not afforded me the opportunity to go to school. From primary to university, I did my master's, and I'm standing before you as a product of the government of Botswana, sponsorship. Human development is very, very key for Botswana. That is a must. Yes. Yes.
More questions?
Hello, my name is Damien. I'm from Indonesia. Like you said before, Botswana has unexploited 200,000 ton coal.
212
112
billion.
billion, yeah, sorry. And you're going to do for the CTL, right? Coal to
CTM,
liquid.
yeah.
Are you going to have a plantation in Botswana, or are you going to send that coal to South Africa for Sasol?
Botswana.
That one is the first question. And then the second question, I believe in Botswana also there is a safari, right? And then also it can interact the tourists to Botswana. There is a hot issue about the rhino poaching. Does it affect also tourism, your tourism also in Botswana? And how are you going to anticipate this issue? Thank you.
All right, the first one, I think the CTR is going to be done in Botswana. It's obviously going to be through open international bidding, whereby we give everybody opportunity to present their bids to the government of Botswana, and then they can venture into the project. That is number one. We are not going to do Sasol. Number two, in terms of safari and poaching, we have some of the most strict laws. Actually, I want to share with you that the government of South Africa recently relocated some of their rhinos to Botswana for protection purposes. That is a fact. So when you want to venture into rhino, yeah, yes.
Be careful with the Keynote thing.
Okay.
Noted. All right. Any question before I leave the?
Okay, the last question.
I'm from New York as well, and I just have a question. You spoke a lot about corruption and how Botswana is one of the least corrupt countries in the world, basically. And I was just wondering, you know, is a problem with a lot of countries that have an abundance of resources, they suffer from a resource curse, basically, where because of the resources, they have a lot higher chance of corruption, unstable governments and everything. And so I was wondering if you knew, or if you have an idea of what were kind of the factors that led to Botswana kind of managing their resources effectively, and as well as not falling into the resource trap.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I mean, I actually expected it, the resource curse question. You'd want to note that partly our success is embedded within our culture.
Yeah.
As a nation, we have a culture of what we call boto. What is boto, Gigi? Humility. And then we've got a culture of consultation. Our cultural system does not only start from family, it goes to community. We consult in terms of how we want to utilize the resources, even from community level all the way to government. We managed really, like I said, to work out our plans before everything else. You'd also notice that government has got control on the mineral wealth. They become participating partners, and then after they participate, they have their share. They'll also get royalties from you, again, as the partner, which are geared towards development of the people of Botswana, putting into infrastructure and other value-added initiatives that will drive the country in future when all these resources are depleted. And of course, like I said, our efforts to diversify also put us in a tight situation to say we really want to move away from diamonds, but we know how to manage them. Canada Botswana, just come to us. You may learn a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.